Welcome back everyone to the Silverstone International Circuit. Thanks to Dave Goddard, who's been talking us through all of the action today. We'll give him a rest now for the next half an hour or so because it is time for the second race of the day in the second round of the championship for the Maximum Networks VW Racing Cup, incorporating the Goodyear Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK. Andy McEwen up here in the commentary box, Paul O'Neill alongside me. And that first race, Paul, gave us an awful lot to talk about. There were quite a few bits of news that we were able to pick up between the races, a couple of the front runners that had dramas. Bradley Kent, for example, who had that astonishing front row qualifying effort, sadly having a puncture on the opening lap, which is what put him out of contention. But what we did see, I think, is the beginnings of a great rivalry between Lewis Kent and Max Hart. Those two were going after each other and matching each other blow for blow, really, with Max eventually coming out on top to take the first win.
It was like a heavyweight fight, wasn't it? Definitely, and I think these guys will definitely be enjoying that, but at the same time, I just sense that there's going to be a bit of, you say rivalry, I think it's going to be a big slog, as in Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno. You can sense it, can't you? So, yeah, it's great to see. And the even better thing for us, Andy, is that they line up 5th and 6th, so they've got it all to do, and so they're going to be like fighting in a massive group of people who don't want to be in that fight.
Yes, because we have a reversed grid, or a partially reversed grid for race number 2. The top 6 finishers from each class, although there weren't 6 finishers in the VWs, but the top 6 have been reversed basically from the results of the previous race to form the grid for race number 2. So Max Hart, who won race 1, starts 6th with Lewis Kent alongside him on the 3rd row. But 6th place in race 1 was Will Butler, so he lines up on pole position in the Cupra with Hugo Cook alongside. Now, Hugo ran out of fuel at the very last corner from 4th position, challenging for 3rd actually, ended up 5th, which lost him some points, but puts him on the front row for race number 2. Dan Kirby and Darren Lewis make up row 2 ahead of those top 2, the heavyweights, if you like, from race 1, Lewis Kent and Max Hart. Jack Constable is 7th, with Toby Byrne 8th in the 2nd of the Mercedes, with Danny Crevet, who we didn't really mention in race 1, but he just kept his head down, stayed out of trouble, exactly what he had to do in his first ever race in the championship. Then behind them we have got Bruce Winfield, who had a puncture after lap 1 contact, Will Powell, who I don't know if he'll be out there on the grid. I'm not convinced he will be, because he's had all sorts of mechanical issues this weekend. Bradley Kent, we know, had a puncture, he's out on the grid from the back row, and Andy Wilmot is there in the green Vauxhall Astra, who I think it was a power steering issue that he had in race 1 that put him out. In the VWs, they also get the reversed grid treatment. The top 4 reversed here because Ollie Turner was not classified within enough laps of the leader after his drive shaft issue. So it is going to be Chris Wallace on pole position from Jeff Alden, Russell Joyce and race 1 winner Jack Tepper on the 2nd row. And Ollie Turner, it was a drive shaft that broke on the grid. That's quite a common issue, it seems, especially with front-wheel drive cars. I seem to see this a lot. What can cause that? Is it something the driver's doing on the warm-up lap?
Well, it can be a number of things. I know I've had broken drive shafts before, and you're putting so much force through those shafts with obviously a sticky, slick tyre, but the temperature, when you're warming the tyres up, you're constantly high revs and putting loads of torque through those front wheels. So, and you've got to remember, the VW Cup cars, they're very much road-going cars with slicks on and a roll case. They're not like the TCR cars that are fully fledged racing cars. So, yeah, you're going to have a struggle, and any race car can have a struggle with its drive shaft. But yeah, usually it's a road car part that fails, and that weakness has to come round somewhere.
So, they are, I think, most of the stories that we had to pick up after race 1. Race 2, though, I think is going to present us with even more drama, because this reversed grid now, as it is designed to do, it gives other drivers now a chance to start at the front of the grid. It gives the quick drivers a bit more of a challenge to move through. Having said that, though, this Hugo Cook bloke on the front row of the grid, you chatted to him between the races, we both think he's got a really good shot here, don't we, at least of a podium, and maybe a race win.
Yeah, I would say that he didn't get a very good start, did he? He was telling us he got quite a lot of wheel spin in the second phase at the start, so just past probably 3,000 or 4,000 revs, he just started to wheel spin after he left the line. But I'm with you. I really think he's got that first race under his belt, and I think we have to look at Hugo in that Audi to say that he might even lead this first lap. But after that, I think hopefully he can just hold on for a podium. But I tell you what, we are in for an absolute beauty here. It's not going to be a 2-horse race, this one, early doors. It's going to be a 68,000 horse race, and it's going to involve some proper pedallers.
I think so. I mean, even Will Butler, who is on pole position, he did actually race with us last year at Donington. He was 4th place in, I think, the final race of the year last year, his first appearance in TCR as well, so we know that he is pretty rapid. Darren Lewis impressed me in the last race as well in that Mercedes. He lines up on the second row, the A-class Mercedes that was coming under some pressure from Hugo Cook towards the end, but Darren did always seem to have an answer for the youngster in the Audi. He's going to be gunning for a repeat of that podium. And then in the VW Racing Cup as well, Ollie Turner, what a disastrous start to his championship, arguably the pre-season favourite along with Jack Depper. And that drive shaft meant that he had no defence against Depper. Depper is already going to be 26 points ahead of him. Turner needs a result in this one.
Yeah, he does, and I'm sure he'll bounce back. He knows the score, so that car just made its way off the grid, so there's no problems so far for Ollie. And I think, like you say, Ollie is just going to be, he's got nothing to lose, is he? He's just going to go absolutely flat to the boards and try and get to the front. But he hasn't, well, he's alongside Jack, isn't he? Because they've reversed the finishes. So they're going to, again, you're going to see those two championship contenders battling their way through the VW Cup field.
Yes, most definitely. And Ollie did promise me that he'd put on a show in this second race as he tried to come up through the order. Just to correct myself, he's not going to be 26 points behind because there are half points available at the moment in the VW Racing Cup, just because it's a slightly smaller entry than usual. We are anticipating a few more cars will make an appearance later on in the year. So green flag lap then is underway, as you can see. Cars heading down the Hanger Straight. Still picture perfect day here at Silverstone. Bit breezy, but it's dry, it's sunny. The track temperature will probably not be that dissimilar to what it was earlier on. But we saw, didn't we, these Goodyear tyres working astonishingly well in race 1. The life seemed to stay in them right towards the end, and I think it was Max Hart said to us they go through almost a phase where they drop off and then they kind of come back, which is a bit strange.
Yeah, interesting listening to him and what he had to say. The car coming back to him a bit further on, so really interesting stuff to hear that from the driver. Mickey Butler from Goodyear is over the moon when I've spoken to him about the tyres, and because we were both in the comms box, we couldn't believe how fast the cars were at that later stage in the race. So all the cars, the TCR cars and actually the VW Cup cars, they've got the same compound tyre. They're just a bit smaller in dimension on the VW Cup cars. So the cars at the front, the TCT car and the TCR cars have the same tyre in dimension, but the VW Cup car is just a bit smaller. But the compound is the same, sidewalls are the same, so that's why we've got a great control tyre. So good stuff from Goodyear. They've done a great job. It's fantastic to see.
As is this grid of cars as they line up in front of us alongside the spectacular looking Silverstone wing. We're on the international circuit for the first time in the championship's history. It's already provided us with one very entertaining race, and I think this second one will be no different at all. Reminder then, it's Will Butler on the pole position with Hugo Cook alongside him, Dan Kirby and Darren Lewis on row number 2, and then Lewis Kent and Max Hart. One of the keys of this race will be to see which of those two gets themselves towards the front of the field the quickest. That could well decide who ultimately wins. Revs then starting to rise. We're about to go racing in round number 2 of the championship. Lights go out. A demon start from the pole sitter. Not so strong off the line is Hugo Cook in the Audi, and he is under pressure already. Dan Kirby, I think, has broken through into second place. Darren Lewis is third, but joint third with Lewis Kent. He goes up the inside into Abbey Corner. Lewis Kent was absolutely on it and already has a car between himself and his race 1 rival Max Hart, and he now goes up the inside of Darren Lewis for second place as they go into a village corner for the first time. 2 and 3 wide further back. Hold your breath. I think they've all made it through. What a start from Lewis Kent though. 5th on the grid. He goes onto the Hanger Straight second, but Max Hart only 2 places behind.
Wow, that was a great start, wasn't it? And fair play, he was taking no prisoners, was he? And he really got on with it. But look at this, he's having to defend, and Darren there in the A-Class Mercedes is trying to block, isn't he, from Max Hart, but Max is down the inside at Stowe, so it's all go, and it's great to see a clean first few corners.
Yeah, there was a bit of argy-bargy in race 1, wasn't there? Look at Ollie Turner from the back of the grid. He's challenging for the lead in the VW Cup round the outside of Russell Joyce, and I think that might just work. I noticed Jack Depper was in the top 3 as well, so the order completely changing in both classes. It is Dan Kirby, though, from 3rd on the grid that will lead the opening lap by a decent margin over Lewis Kent in 2nd. Max Hart has taken 3rd from Darren Lewis, who is 4th. I think that's Will Butler in 5th position. Yes, it is, with Hugo Cook 6th from 2nd. He'll be disappointed with that. but we know Hugo has better race pace. He should be able to come back forwards.
Yeah, I think so, and I think again it's just a bit of an experience from standing starts. He's done rolling starts in these cars this weekend and Brit cars, so just a bit different for him, but I must admit, it looks a bit ominous. The fast guys really are starting to put the pressure on Dan Kirby, who's going to be, he's going to be going for it, isn't he? So that was Andy Wilmot running wide, wasn't it, in the Green Astra?
Yes, and being overtaken by Bradley Kent, who survived the first lap this time, thankfully. Bradley, younger brother to Lewis, but he did out-qualify Lewis. If you weren't with us for qualifying this morning, Bradley Kent was second on the grid for race 1, but had that puncture on the number 44 car. There he is, look, the second of these Essex and Kent Motorsport entered cars. First time they've entered 2 cars into the championship, and they're already saying that they're reaping the benefits of that by having 2 drivers helping with setup and talking each other through the races. Lewis was saying they are definitely still in radio contact as well during the race, chatting away to each other. And Bradley moving forwards nicely, changed for 5th there. Hugo Cook up ahead now of, that was Will Butler, wasn't it? So Cook already on the march to the front.
He is, but Dan Kirby still doing good. I mean, I think there's going to be a strike maybe down at Stowe, I would have thought, because I've got to say that Lewis is looking very strong in second place. But look at them, they're all quite still bunched up, aren't they?
Yeah, Bradley Kent there was looking to the outside. There's also a change there. I think that was Danny Crevet, wasn't it? Yeah, going up the inside of Toby Byrne. You're right, though. We're about to have a fight for the lead, and it's important here for Lewis to get on with this. If he sits behind Dan Kirby for too long, then Max Hart is only a second and a half back, and Max will be on him in a flash. So this could be the key moment in the race. If Lewis Kent can get this car between himself and Max Hart and pull away, that could win him the race. Bradley Kent looking up the inside of Jack Constable there. This is the battle for 7th position. So Bradley has already got past Bruce Winfield on this lap, and he's going to be well inside the top 10 by the end of this, the 3rd lap of the race. Back out of Club Corner come the top 2 then. Dan Kirby leading the way, but only just.
Pretty strong that car actually, coming out the last sector as he comes over the line. Dan Kirby, I'm surprised, and it's no disrespect to him, but he has done ever so well on these first few laps, because it's no mean feat keeping him behind, and I'm thinking this may be a challenge for the lead if we see it when it comes back onto him. Is he going to be in front? We'll see, because he was very close, and there you do, it's gone, done.
Yeah, nicely done into Village, one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. But look, that did lose them time, didn't it? Max Hart is with them already and using all of the Silverstone real estate that he can find there as they go onto the Hanger Straight. Track limits, what track limits? They're all running as wide as they possibly can, and I tell you what, Dan Kirby is coming back here at Lewis Kent. Lewis has been saying that Hyundai has been down on power this weekend, and Dan Kirby showing that with a nice slipstream. He forces Kent to defend into Stowe Corner. Kirby is quicker off the turn as a result, and there's another big braking point coming up down at the bottom of the hill into Club Corner, and Max Hart is with them as well. Kent to the inside goes Kirby as he tries to attack and defend at the same time. This is proper racing.
Proper stuff that was, wasn't it? And Dan did have a proper look at him there, but like you said, you've got to have Max Hart now getting rid of Dan Kirby, because if he doesn't, that is going to be Lewis Kent trying to drive up the road, and at the apex there, they're both taking a bit of grass. He's definitely got the run now, but is Kirby going to stay to the right hand side? Look at that, it's going to be wide. Is he going to end up on the grass? No, he's down the inside. Done. Job done. Fantastic move that, and I tell you what, Dan Kirby put up a great fight, but sometimes it's just better to let it go.
Yeah, Max has been saying that he's been quick through those first few corners all day, and proved it again there. So now we have Lewis Kent and Max Hart in the top 2 positions, although let's not speak too soon, because Max ran too wide that time coming out of Chapel onto the Hanger Straight, and so again Dan Kirby gets the Cupra alongside, looks to the outside into Stowe Corner. Who's later on the brakes? It's Max Hart on the inside line. Does he run wide on the exit? Not quite, but Dan Kirby is starting to delay Max now and allowing Lewis Kent to make a break out in front. Also Darren Lewis not that far behind them, now in 4th place ahead of Hugo Cook 5th, and Will Butler down to 6th position. So it's the Hyundai 1-2 once again, the Power Max entered car of Dan Kirby down to 3rd. I'll give a quick shout out to Simon McNally from Power Max Racing as well, who was supposed to be here overseeing part of the operation, but is at home not feeling too well today apparently, feeling a bit sorry for himself. So get well soon, Si. Hope to have you back at the track next time, where you can enjoy the racing that we're seeing here, not just at the front of the field in TCT, but also in the VW Cup. This is the fight we were promised in race 1 between Ollie Turner and Jack Depper. Turner has gone off the line this time and is only just hanging on to the lead.
He is, isn't he? And this is another tasty battle. It's like exactly the same as TCR, so these two guys going for it, and this definitely won't end like it is now. I'm sure there's going to be some battling as they go on through this race. Now with 18 minutes to go, actually. So when Max was saying it was such a long race for him, wasn't it, out the front? So you always get that. If you are leading, it just goes on forever and ever. But yeah, these guys looking pretty close here. The Sirocco looking pretty strong, actually, the green car in second place.
Yeah, subtle differences, I guess, aerodynamically between the Golf and the Sirocco, maybe. I would imagine, in my very uneducated opinion, the Sirocco maybe is a bit more aerodynamic, a bit quicker down the straight. The Golf certainly seems to be handling well. Let's see whether Jack Depper can indeed close down the straight. He's also lost a wing mirror, which will also be helping streamline the VW Scirocco. Won't be helping his rear vision, but he's not too concerned about that right now. Bradley Kent up through the first corner. How's he getting on? He is in behind Will Butler now, which means that he's 7th place, going for 6th as they go to Village. He pulls the Hyundai to the inside of the Cupra, and did he make that one stick? No, I don't think he did. I think they're wheel to wheel in the background. Dropping down the hill, there goes Hugo Cook. Oh yeah, they're still side by side. Bradley Kent on the inside takes a liberal chunk of the curve there at the apex, and he should now make that move stick down the back straight.
I must admit, a lot of the drivers are taking some real curb there. There was one car I seen that had all of its wheels across the grass, but it seemed to float over the curb. But that's how good the suspension and the geometry is on these TCR cars, and the touring cars in general are pretty good at hopping curbs. That's what they're set up to do, to cut corners. So hopefully no one gets penalised for that. But if they're all doing it, might as well crack on. As long as they don't run too wide, that's what offends me so much with regards to track minutes. But yeah, these guys getting on with it, and it's role reversals, isn't it, from the last race? But look at it, here we go then. So that you were talking about the aerodynamics. If he gets this round the outside of the corner, is Depper strong enough? No, but is he going to try and get the cut back? He's going to try and get back on the inside of him. Look at that. That's a cool move. But now he's round the outside going into Vale. Can he make it stick? My word. They're firing into each other. Can he make it stick? Oh, he's not. He's given up on that, has he? No, he's down the inside. Hip and shoulder. Yes, thanks very much. Bit of track limits. Unlucky. He's kept it in. That should be job done. That's great. This is what we wanted to see.
I wouldn't speak too soon. I'll tell you what, Ollie Turner's not giving this up without a fight, and he now makes an aggressive move to the right-hand side there, just to let Jack Depper know that he didn't particularly appreciate that. They are still side by side through Abbey Corner, and they do now make contact, and Ollie Turner is sideways. Can he save the slide? Where have they gone? Where have they gone? They're still there, and it's still Ollie Turner in front. That is not a place you want to be making contact, but that was about as close to disaster as you can get.
That is definitely... Oh, and in the back of Ollie Turner. Oh, Jack Depp, I don't know if he's just... That's not going to end. This is definitely not over. You might want to stay watching this, because down at Stowe, if someone had done that to me in the corner before, they'd be getting it back to them there as well. So a really, really, really difficult move put on him there as he went down to Hanger Straight.
Yes, indeed. So it is going to be Depper in front still, but do you think there might be a bit of needle here between these two drivers? It certainly seems that they're not giving each other any quarter whatsoever, and Jack Depper, well actually, as I say that, runs very wide, was getting away, but that mistake will lose him a little bit of time now. Hangs on to the advantage. The other thing that could have happened is they might have got a bit of damage. The tracking could be knocked out. You always worry about bodywork rubbing against the tyre as well, because they both had some pretty significant bits of contact there.
Yeah, and sometimes, you don't know if Jack Depper's had a long brake pedal where, it just gets a bit hot, so he could have been struggling to get the car stopped, because he's done it again. It looks like it's locking rears up, so again, he was off the track the corner before, so maybe it was unintentional, that tag. But we won't know until we speak to them, because these two guys seem like they get on, actually. I must admit, when he's got some... I think he's got coolant, or some, maybe that radiator in the front of that car is dropping coolant, because everywhere we've seen him, he's either understeered wide where the front axle's not working, or he's locked the brakes up. So there is a lot going on at the front left of that car as he fires something over the top of the car as well. So I was like, Skittles that down. He's going to have a look here. Ollie Turner's on it. He's going to have a look, isn't he?
Well, there isn't a straight panel left on the Scirocco, so Turner must be feeling that he's got a car advantage. He's on the inside into Club, and he does now go back through. So a lap ago, it looked like Depper was getting away, and now Ollie Turner is back into the lead of the VW Racing Cup. you see, there might only be 5 VWs out there, but you only need 2 cars to make a good race, and they're almost touching again as they come across the line. It's like every time someone gets into the lead, there's almost a bit of rubber banding going on, isn't there? And now Jack Depper has sailed round the outside into Abbey Corner, and he gets him back again. Brilliant.
Do you know what, though? When you look at the Golf, that has got quite a wide stance, and it looks like it's got, like you say, it's got a few more parts on it that'll maybe make it a bit quicker in the corners. But then, if you look at it, they look like 2 different classes, don't they? It's very svelte, isn't it? Very road car like that green Scirocco. But the Golf looks like it's got some more wingage on it, if you like. But that was pretty special. That round the outside into turn 1. That's 5th gear at 110 mile an hour. That good luck, not for me.
Yes, likewise, but entertaining to watch nonetheless from a safe distance as we are up here in the comms box. They're at it again now, down into Stowe Corner. Jack Depper is going to receive a bit of a tap, I think, isn't he, from Ollie Turner, who's definitely quicker through the corners, but yeah, then he gets out onto the straight and the Scirocco gets away, side by side again into club. We've seen this before. Turner goes through, late on the brakes, gets the car sort of stopped, a bit sideways at the apex, but he makes it through the corner. We've got the added thrill now of Russell Joyce about to go a lap down to these two. Russell, I think, must have been, he's been in the pit lane for some reason, and in fairness, he's seen them coming and done a really good job there. Pulls well off the racing line, tucked back in behind them. I'd keep your distance though, Russell, if I were you, because this could all kick off at any moment.
Oh, he's had a big slide through there, Turner. Turner had a big slide. That's going to put him under pressure now into the 2 slower corners and down the inside. No, I tell you what, he had a massive moment. I just caught it. You could see the oversteer as the rear tried to catch up with the front, but he held it all together and cracked on. Again, big slide! What's happening down there? Is there fluid down? Because all these cars seem to just be sliding all over the place, but they have took a big, hefty hit, haven't they? So he's trying to get him out of his toe. That's why he's weaving down the straight at the minute. But this is great stuff, isn't it, from this part of the race?
Fantastic stuff, and you're not missing anything at the front of the TCT field either, although Max Hart over the last lap or so has sort of slowly been inching back towards Lewis Kent. He has been a couple of hundredths quicker on the previous 2 laps. We'll keep monitoring the lap times there. This, though, is the battle to be focusing on, because these two are absolutely on the limit of adhesion. The cars can't be driving well after the several bits of contact they've had, and I think they're also driving maybe a bit beyond the grip that's available to them right now. I think that's why they're all over the road, almost banging into each other again there as they went into Club Corner. They go across the line. Meanwhile, the overall race leaders are not that far behind them now, so it won't be long before we have Lewis Kent and Max Hart trying to work their way past this pair to put another lap on them, or to put the first lap on them. I think that is Lewis Kent in the background, isn't he, just working his way through village and farm. Further back as well, change for 4th place. Bradley Kent is now ahead of Darren Lewis and is only 2 seconds behind Dan Kirby, so could we maybe get both of the Kents on the overall podium? I think it's possible.
Yeah, definitely. They're both fast enough. But these 2 guys, I've just been looking at their lap times, and they're like a second off their fastest lap, second and a half off their fastest lap. So they're definitely struggling with some kind of grip. So maybe they've heated the tyres up too quickly, and he does struggle, Ollie Turner, through the turning for Stowe. Look how wide he is as he comes out, because this then gives Jack Depper the opportunity. He goes down the inside. Can he get that done? He probably locks up a left front usually. Look at that, he is really strong. Ollie Turner is having a nightmare. And this now, Jack is going to be so close. Look at him. He's having a proper braille pass on him there, isn't he? Go on, son, get stuck in. Right, he's going to have to defend. And this is another around the outside. How'd you feel? Oh no, now you've got a TCR car coming through. Is that Max?
That's Lewis, isn't it? That's the race leader coming through, Lewis Kent, who in fairness dealt with that very, very well. Just about cleared them before they got to Abbey Corner. So it was Turner that led at the line. He's now back down to second behind Jack Depper. Max Hart is going to catch them through Village, which will probably delay him a bit more than Lewis Kent was delayed. Kent and Hart, by the way, are 2.4 seconds apart. As Max Hart still hasn't got through, has he?
Don't cut back across too fast. Ollie Turner's just about got out of the way, isn't he? But yeah, so second place Hart now coming through. But look at the speed differential in the TCR car compared to the VW Cup cars. They're actually very fast in a straight line, but they'll just lose them now as they turn in with the aero and also the lateral grip and the tyre advantage. They'll be gone up the road. Jack Depper is so good through Stowe Corner. He drops Ollie Turner. He's really struggling with the front end of that car, Ollie is.
Yeah, first lap in recent memory that they've not been overlapping into club. Every time Turner turns through that left-hander, the rear of the Golf is trying to swap ends with the front. He gathers it together. He's got some good car control, hasn't he? I know that they're front-wheel drive cars, so in theory easier to save those slides than a rear-wheel drive car would be, but it still takes
Easier
some
to save those slides.
Easier, not easy. You're the talented racing driver here, Paul.
Wash your mouth out. It's hard work, a touring car. No, I know what you're saying. It's you do have to plant the throttle and just pull it round. But I'll tell you what, when it's nervous in a high speed going, you've just seen those guys hanging onto it. I tell you, this is Jack Depper ears. Oh no,
that's Jack Constable.
Is that a left rear problem?
I think that's a club, is it not? So has he had contact, or who was he racing with? He would have been ahead of Andy Wilmot, who, by the way, is still going, which for Andy, that's a success, the way that his weekend's been going. And he's going well in 9th place, but yeah, Jack Constable, I'm afraid, might not be going any further, so that's one of the Power Max cars out. And here is another one defending 3rd place, because Bradley Kent is absolutely flying through the field. On the previous lap, he was the quickest man on the track. He was about 3/4 of a second quicker than Dan Kirby, and he's challenging for 3rd place. In fact, he's gone through, just caught him in the background, Bradley Kent into 3rd position. I don't think he's got time to catch the top 2, as there they flash past the stricken car of Jack Constable. Yellow flags out at club, no yellow flags down at Abbey Corner though, so Ollie Turner and Jack Depper can resume their battle.
That thing, I tell you, that Sirocco of Depper's, the only thing keeping him ahead is definitely the straight line advantage it seems to have. It just looks a bit more slippery, that car, as he gets him on the brakes this time, is he? Oh, it's very, very close.
It is, and also behind, look, I said that Bradley Kent was ahead of Dan Kirby, and then Dan Kirby immediately got him back, so Kirby's still 3rd, and this battle is backing them up into Darren Lewis, so we're about to have a 3-way fight for 3rd place on our hands, which we'll see if we ever dare drag our eyes away from this VW Cup battle, because they're side by side again down the Hanger Straight. Behind them it's side by side for 3rd place overall. This won't work. I've seen enough races over the last 8 or so years to know this will not work. Someone's going to have to give. There's contact into Stowe between the 2 VWs. Turner's out wide. Depper goes through into the lead. You had Bradley Kent and Darren Lewis in there somewhere as well. This is all quite civilised at the front, isn't it? Lewis Kent 1.8 seconds ahead of Max Hart, who has been matching, if not slightly quicker than him over the last lap or so. Dan Kirby, Bradley Kent and Darren Lewis, though, that's where all of the action is in the TCT element of the race, as they've tried to safely negotiate the VW battle. I reckon out of the window I just spotted that Bradley Kent had lost out in all of that. Yeah, he's back behind Darren Lewis now, so the order is Kirby 3rd, Lewis 4th and Bradley Kent in 5th.
It's yeah, that was quite a tense moment, wasn't it, trying to get past there. Is that yeah, that's Darren, isn't it? So Darren is now starting to really put the pressure on Dan Kirby, so that'll be an interesting one if Lewis can really get on the back of him and really make him work. And oh my, talking about working, getting past them 2 VW Cup cars is just like, that's the hardest part of the race.
It is, isn't it? And a role reversal here for Bradley Kent, because he was racing a Scirocco in the VW Cup last year against Jack Depper, and they had some really entertaining battles, so he knows all about Jack's adventurous driving style, which I'm sure he learned from his dad, and he's a really welcome addition to the championship. The Depper family in general are hoping to have Martin back out on track a bit later on this year as well. Right, disappointingly, there are only 5.5 minutes left of this race, and look at what's happening at the front. Now they're in clean air and traffic isn't dictating their pace. Max Hart is a little bit quicker. Now, cast your mind back a couple of hours to race 1. Max Hart was quicker in the final third of the race, wasn't he? Maybe managed his tyres better, the car setup maybe was designed to come on strong towards the end. Whatever it is, he was 2/10 quicker than Kent on the previous lap. What do you think? Can he catch him?
I think he could, yeah, and I think that it'll be a real close one. The car looks a bit. Is that car? Is he trying to get out of the heat of the car in front? I'm just trying to think. It does look like he took a weird line there, to be fair. But so Jack, yeah, it's got left rear punch of that. It's off the rim, isn't it? So I would think that was contact with somebody else. But yeah, look at this. Oh yes, here we go. Lewis is right into the back of Kirby, and I think those are pretty strong cars then, Mercedes, on the actual brakes. So he could shock him into it here, but it'll be a big move. And I tell you, to be fair though, Dan Kirby's been very, very good today at how he's driven the car. But you won't want to give that 3rd place up.
No, absolutely not. He will want a podium to go along with the 4th place that he had in race number 1. Of course, there is a championship going on here, so as many points as you can score, it all comes in handy later on in the season. The lead gap went out by a 10th that time, so just to make a liar out of me, Lewis Kent was quicker than Max Hart on the previous lap. All of the action is going on some 17 or so seconds behind them in the I was going to say 3-way fight for 3rd, but actually Bradley Kent, having been a part of that battle a few laps ago, he has faded a bit now, hasn't he? He's about half a second or so behind at the line, but he doesn't really, no, ignore everything I'm saying, he's right back with them again as they go through Village. Darren Lewis has dropped back now from Dan Kirby, and Bradley Kent in the Hyundai is once again the man most likely to make a move here.
Yeah, something's happened there in the pack, isn't it? And I think that's how he's caught them up, but that's where you got to be. And to be fair, Hugo Cook's not that far behind. Might be a bit of a stretch for him to get there, but they're definitely bunching up. But Dan Kirby in that number 4 car will be looking behind him and thinking, yeah, thanks guys, I'm off. You guys battle, see you later.
Again, then applying the pressure into Stoke Corner, and then there's this little tussle going on. Hugo Cook there is in 6th position, but then Will Butler, who started on pole, remember, and Bruce Winfield, who had that puncture in race 1, so we never got to see the best of Bruce in the first race. They are nose to tail, fighting for 7th place overall. Bruce Winfield is the reigning Civic Cup champion. We'll have the Civic Cup on the TCT package a few times later on in the year as well. Leaders go through then, just under 3 minutes to go. Lewis Kent leading the way, 1.8 seconds is the margin. And at this stage, if you're Max Hart, are you just banking the points for 2nd place? It's not really worth taking huge risks now, is it?
No, it's not, because you can have any kind of problem, can't you? You can have a bit of contact, you can have, you know, a puncture late on just because you've ran too hard with the tyre, or you've picked up a bit of debris trying to, you know, go offline and pass someone. So I would say, you know, these guys at the front aren't silly kids, and they'll probably be thinking about maybe the championship. They just need to be there at the end, don't they?
The body language of Max Hart's car there certainly wasn't all out attack through Stowe, was it? So I think the same can't be said for Lewis Kent, who is up on 2 wheels through Club Corner, so he's still pushing hard, but Max Hart maybe has settled for 2nd place. More traffic ahead as well, which could change things as we cut back to the Bruce Winfield and Will Butler battle. This for 7th place overall, and Bruce Winfield, decent effort this, I think, from the back of the grid. Disappointment in race 1. Bruce is a quick driver as well, isn't he? And I think there are quite a lot of drivers I would put in the category of they'll get there later in the year. You know, they're learning front wheel drive, they're learning touring cars, they're moving into the category for the first time. I think in another 3 or 4 races time, it's going to be even more competitive, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so, no doubt at all, especially with the guys just getting a lot of information under the belt this weekend. So another flash of the lights just to get these VW Cup cars out of the way. But yeah, I think it is game over now, isn't it? I think this is definitely Lewis Kent's race. There's no way, unless he comes proper with a back marker. But I'll tell you what he has done. He clobbered that curb before. It's the last thing you want to be doing this late on in the race. To be fair, Hart's still pushing.
Yeah, you know how I said a lap ago that Max Hart was settling for 2nd? That was complete rubbish, because he then set the outright fastest first sector on the start of the very next lap. So Max Hart, again, just showing that he's got this brilliant long-run pace, and that will pay dividends, especially as we move into the summer months now and the track temperature starts getting hotter. If he can manage the tyres like this on a race-by-race basis, that is definitely going to help him out. That's not always been Lewis Kent's strength either. He's quite aggressive. He has the car really leaning on those front tyres quite a lot, and he has run into some tyre wear issues in the past. And there was his brother Bradley, meanwhile, who is ahead of Darren Lewis. Now, I don't think we saw that happen, but he's into 4th, chasing down Dan Kirby. But we are on the final lap of the race, Paul.
We are, and I've got to say Dan Kirby has been a standout driver for me, and it'd be great to see him hopefully keep that podium. But at the front, that is the telltale sign of 2 fantastic drivers, is when they really can't catch each other, when they're absolutely pinned, especially with the first race they had in role reversal. So no nerves from Lewis Kent, just got up, got the job done. Hopefully for him, he's won this. It's been a good old race, and the VW Cup guys, wow, that's been amazing.
Yeah, hasn't it just? It's going to be a fascinating championship battle in both classes this year, I think. But Lewis Kent and Max Hart are approaching the checkered flag, I believe. They come out of the last corner, and Lewis Kent wins round number 2 of the Maximum Networks Goodyear Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK, with Max Hart 1.5 seconds back in 2nd place. Lewis Kent also gets the bonus point for the fastest lap, so he and Max will be joint championship leaders exiting the first round of the season. Couldn't get much closer than that. Then we wait for Dan Kirby, who I think should just about hang on to 3rd. Yes, he does. Dan Kirby gets on the podium on his return to the championship, with Bradley Kent. A really good effort, that, from the very back of the grid to 4th position, and it could have been 3rd if you hadn't dropped back a bit there towards the middle of the race. Darren Lewis is the first NGTC car home in 5th, ahead of Hugo Cook, who is 6th. Fuel this time. 7th Bruce Winfield, and there Toby Byrne looked just about ahead of Andy Wilmot. Good to see Andy having a good race this time. And speaking of a good race, what a race it was between the VW Racing Cup contenders. It's Jack Depper in his battered and bruised VW Scirocco who comes home a race winner in the VW Racing Cup with Ollie Turner second. And I hope they enjoyed that. We certainly enjoyed watching it, and although it got a bit physical on a couple of occasions, it was good, hard touring car racing, and that is what the VW Racing Cup is all about. Jeff Alden, by the way, will be on the podium with them, ahead of Chris Wallace and Russell Joyce, with only one retirement actually, so not a particularly high attrition rate. Jack Constable was the only driver who did not get to the end with that tyre off the rim, as Paul quite rightly pointed out, down at Club Corner. This is going to be a brilliant season, I think, of TCR and TCT racing. Lewis Kent and Max Hart, both so similar, really. Max is slightly younger, Lewis Kent 21 years old, with Max Hart 2 years younger, 19 at the start of the season. Both in Hyundais, run by different teams, but essentially the same machinery underneath them. And clearly their pace is almost identical. It was Kent who was fractionally quicker in that one, but by only half a tenth. And if they continue this to and fro battling throughout the rest of the season, it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. There is confirmation then of your provisional result for round number 2 of the Maximum Network's VW Racing Cup, the Goodyear Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK. Lewis Kent the winner by a second and a half over Max Hart in second, Dan Kirby third, Bradley Kent fourth, with Darren Lewis fifth ahead of Hugo Cook in sixth position, 7th place Bruce Winfield, 8th Toby Byrne, 9th is Will Mott, 10th for Danny Crevet, and it was Will Butler who was 11th position, although he actually did not take the checkered flag. He disappeared somewhere on the final lap. That's a bit strange. In the VWs, it was Jack Depper who took the victory. His father Martin is here cheering him on today. I'm sure he'll be happy with that. With Ollie Turner second, Jeff Alden in third, and fourth position for Chris Wallace, with Russell Joyce rounding out the top 5. Oh, and I can see the number 70 car of Will Butler stopped on the final corner of the final lap. So Will Butler is unfortunately going to be classed as a non-finisher. Right, let's head down to Paul with our race winner.
Lewis Kent. That's how you do it, Captain. What a drive, mate.
Yeah, back to winning ways, back to where we should be. Real tough race, starting 5th, not the easiest job. Got a couple on the start, pushed away, got to 2nd, thought we're on for here, we're on for it. Got behind Dan, I knew I had a bit more pace on Dan, just sold him a bit of a dummy into the hairpin. Tried to go hug it tight, but slung it back down the inside, so no, really happy with it. From that point on, just kept on going, pulling away, and kept my gap.
Night and day, really, from the mood you were in after the podium. I know, it's difficult to finish second, but Max was pretty much still there, seeing his lights flashing, but you didn't lose your cool, mate.
Yeah, no, I've been in it 4 years now. There's no pressure on me. I've done it for God knows how many years against some of the drivers that have gone from up to the top and back, so we're really, really happy with it. I can't thank all the boys, Block Coin, Essex Bodies and everyone enough. They've done a brilliant job over the winter, and we're back to where we should be.
A lot of people saying about the speed of the Hyundais in a straight line. I think it was evident against Dan Kirby that he nearly got you around the outside of Stowe, mate. Valiant effort from Dan.
Yeah, no, exactly. BOP is a big game in this industry, especially in the TCR. They made such a good car that obviously they want to bring it back to make it a level playing field, but it still proves you can shove so much weight in it, bring the power back and raise it up, and it'll still be a dominant car.
Top man, so a little drink tonight?
Definitely, 100%.
Top man, well done, mate.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, Paul. Great to hear from our race winner there, Lewis Kent, then, who will be leading the championship jointly with Max Hart, as we now head to our next round of the championship, which will be at Castle Combe on the 31st of May. Hopefully you can join us then. Don't go anywhere though, still plenty more great racing to come here from Silverstone. And with that, we will hand you back over to Dave Goddard.